caught that boy? Who stretched that boy? Who caught that boy, man?
You got on that plate that's all smoking like that.
I ain't never seen that man with Young Boy before that shit happened with V-Roy. You see what I'm saying? It's like he using that like as a face card to be around him, like to make them look a little tough. You see?
The situation surrounding King Von's passing and the long shadow it cast over the hip-hop world has grown into one of the most heated and complicated storylines in recent years. Even after 5 years, the energy refuses to settle, and once again, the spotlight is locked on Lul Tim, NBA YoungBoy's crew, and the growing tension spreading across the industry. What had cooled down over time suddenly flipped right back into the center of attention when Lul Tim posted a TikTok repeating lyrics people viewed as disrespectful toward King Von's legacy. It wasn't a subtle post either. This was a direct moment that shook the entire scene and had fans, artists, and even promoters reacting within minutes.
Seen that man with Young Boy before that shit happened with V-Roy. You see what I'm saying? It's like he using that like as a face card to be around him, like to make them look a little tough. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
That's how I look at it. But I ain't really like.
So if it was
it ain't much I can say because I'm still I'm working on my way up and shit. You see what I'm saying? I ain't. If my time gonna come, it's whatever. But it's just that shit like that specific.
For a long time, Lul Tim stayed mostly quiet, moving in the background while the internet argued about that night in Atlanta. But when he stepped online repeating bold lyrics, especially on the exact date King Von passed years earlier, the reaction was instant, explosive, and impossible to ignore. To understand why this moment hit so hard, it's important to revisit how this whole situation started in the first place. Back on November 6, 2020, outside a hookah lounge in Atlanta, the confrontation involving King Von and Quando Rondo unfolded in a way that left the culture stunned. Lul Tim fired the shot that ended Von's life, and the court ruled it self-defense. Even though the legal system closed its chapter, the streets did not.
Who caught that boy? Who stretched that boy? Who caught that boy, man?
Humble, gang. You see what I'm saying? I feel like he ain't humble about that shit, like, cause the same way like you did what you did, that shit could happen to you too, gang. Like on some easy shit. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
Bro, you got lucky. You did what you did. You defended you stood your ground, whatever. But it's like, it's just the way like how it be playing out now, like all that on stage and okay, you
tough, like
yeah, gang. Like I don't be liking that gang, cause
bro was gangster.
Bro was a gangster. This is what I'm saying.
He died a gangster.
Ain't doing no like with shit like that, bro. It's like, bro, you got lucky, really, bro. Like it ain't like you was on no you ain't finna face this man face to face and just, you got lucky, his back.
For many supporters of Von, the tragedy represented more than a single moment. It was the loss of someone they viewed as a major voice, a leader, and a symbol of their entire movement. Von wasn't just a rising rapper, he was considered a figure with deep roots, someone who carried weight long before he ever signed a deal. That's why emotions surrounding this situation never disappeared. They only tucked themselves away until something reopened the wound, and Lul Tim's recent TikTok did exactly that. When he repeated lines referencing the original incident, the timing alone made the whole situation feel intentional to many viewers. The internet exploded, and suddenly years of simmering tension came rushing back like they never left.
Do you understand the whole situation or what?
I understand, but it's like, all right, you did what you did, okay.
Because I heard, not to cut you off, but I heard a lot of people from y'all side getting that, some people saying he did with like...
but he'll do what any street do if he got to defend his people. But it's like, all right, you did what you did, that's cool, all right, boom, the police was involved, you got off, bro. It ain't like you did some street shit and like, it's just left in the streets. That shit on some police shit too at the same time, you get what I'm saying? Like, do shit, like it's a difference from doing some street shit and the motherfucker know you did some street shit, right? And your name, you in the streets, like, your name ring or whatever. But you did some street shit, whatever, you claim, but the police was involved in that shit. But it's like, I don't like the way he go about it, like, be flexing and shit, like, don't act like you did some shit and just got away, like, off the chain, like, off that, like, bro, this ain't, like, it's some shit I can't even say, but it's like, I don't like how
Supporters of King Von felt it was disrespect, especially because the message came on such a sensitive anniversary. And for those who supported Lul Tim or followed NBA YoungBoy's movement, they jumped online defending his right to speak on his experience. Within hours, timelines across TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube turned into full-blown battlegrounds. But what pushed the moment into even deeper territory was the announcement that Lul Tim's grandfather had passed on the same date, November 6th, 5 years after Von's death. Online spaces filled with debates, theories, questions, and messages that made this entire situation feel even heavier. Whether people believed in coincidence or something spiritual, the conversation refused to calm down. As the internet kept buzzing, members from OBlock, the place King Von always repped, began stepping forward with their own reactions. Among them, Muna Ike spoke loudly and clearly, calling out Lul Tim for the way he's been carrying himself since 2020. For Ike and many others, the issue wasn't only what happened that night in Atlanta, it was how Lul Tim presented himself afterward. They believed he moved into the spotlight not because of long history or deep roots in street life, but because of the attention surrounding that tragic moment. Ike went on record saying he never saw Lul Tim around NBA YoungBoy before the incident, and that alone sent shockwaves through online communities. To some, it implied Lul Tim gained access and recognition because of the events from that night, not because he spent years building a name. That message created intense discussions as people debated whether Lul Tim became a symbol in another crew's feud instead of someone who originally lived in that conflict. While all of this unfolded, NBA YoungBoy stayed quiet publicly, but his presence hung over the entire situation. The long-running rivalry between YoungBoy and Lil Durk already held years of history before any confrontation happened with Von. When the Atlanta incident occurred, the rivalry gained a new face, a new angle, and a new voice through Lul Tim. The dynamics became even more tangled because Quando Rondo had been connected to YoungBoy for years. Their relationship wasn't something new or last minute. They moved together long before the spotlight shifted. But Tim? Tim was a close friend of Quando, someone who never expected to end up in the center of national attention. Yet here he was, not just connected to the story, but standing directly in the middle of one of hip-hop's most tense conflicts. When Lul Tim began appearing next to YoungBoy on stages at events and in behind-the-scenes footage, it felt to many like he was being placed into a much bigger puzzle. Whether or not that was intentional didn't matter. Public perception formed its own narrative. And once that TikTok surfaced, the tension snapped back into full focus. Fans felt their community had been disrespected again. And the deeper part is this. King Von was more than a rapper to many in Chicago. He represented someone who overcame challenges, built something real, and brought attention to his entire neighborhood. Losing him felt like losing a championship player, a leader, and a storyteller all at once. So when Lul Tim showcased confidence in messages tied to that night, OBlock viewed it as more than a social media moment. It was personal, deep, and touched on a legacy they still protect fiercely. With both sides locked into their beliefs, the conflict didn't stay quiet. It stretched across states, social media platforms, and even into the music industry as labels and promoters began paying close attention. The real turning point after the TikTok wasn't the fan reactions. It was how quickly industry doors started shaking. Promoters in multiple cities reportedly began reconsidering NBA YoungBoy events, worried the renewed tension could spill into real-life situations. Some venues quietly backed out, choosing caution over risk, especially with the amount of noise rising around Lul Tim's appearance. Behind the scenes, word spread that YoungBoy's team increased security, not just for performances, but for day-to-day movements. They understood the atmosphere felt different this time. And while YoungBoy remained silent online, the moves happening off camera showed the seriousness of the moment. Over in Chicago, OBlock affiliates posted tributes to Von, reminders of their loyalty, and messages that carried heavy tone without naming anyone directly. Clips of Von rapping, laughing, and performing began circulating faster than ever, almost like the entire city united once again under his image. Even artists who weren't aligned with OBlock, some who had their own disagreements with them, stepped forward to defend Von's legacy. That small detail shocked many observers because it showed how deeply the situation echoed beyond neighborhood lines. Long-standing rivals found themselves united under the same message. Disrespect toward Von's name wouldn't be taken lightly. Meanwhile, fans began dissecting every detail connected to the November 6th coincidence, turning it into one of the most discussed topics online. Some believed the date lining up with Lul Tim's grandfather's passing held cosmic meaning. Others thought it was a chain reaction brought by energy and timing, and some argued it was nothing but coincidence. But no matter the belief, everyone agreed on one thing: the moment created a storm of conversation that refused to slow down. Even law enforcement reportedly began monitoring online activity, aware that rising emotions can escalate situations if not handled carefully. Their increased attention around areas linked to young boys' camp showed that authorities want to prevent anything resembling the tragedy from 2020. The entire atmosphere in hip-hop began to shift. It wasn't just another beef, another internet argument, or another round of subliminals. This situation involved history, emotion, pain, and legacies that still matter deeply. And Lul Tim's TikTok didn't reopen old wounds. It ripped them back open for the entire world to watch. That level of public pressure creates stress not only for artists, but for entire labels, crews, security teams, and even promoters who depend on safer environments to operate. The moment also demonstrated how social media completely changed conflict. What once stayed behind closed doors now spreads in seconds to millions of screens. A single video can flip public opinion, trigger heated reactions, or restart a feud that seemed almost settled. Whether someone meant harm or not doesn't matter once the internet gets involved. And with this conflict, the internet poured gasoline on a fire that never fully went out. The heart of this story isn't just the conflict. It's the reality of how cycles of tension repeat themselves across generations. King Von was a young adult with a growing career, stepping into a space where music could have changed his entire future. Lul Tim was also young when the incident occurred, reacting in a split second to protect someone he cared about. Neither of them expected to become permanent symbols in a nationwide conversation about loyalty, tragedy, and legacy. But here we are, 5 years later, still unpacking what their choices meant for themselves, their crews, and the larger culture around them. What makes the situation even heavier is how many people feel tied to it emotionally. Fans who grew up listening to Von's storytelling felt like they lost someone who spoke for them. Supporters of Youngboy and Quando believe loyalty should never be ignored, especially when things happen fast and unexpectedly. Both sides have deep connections to their favorite artists, and that passion fuels every argument, every post, and every reaction online. This tension also brings attention to the way music and street history often blend into each other in ways that create long-lasting effects. Drill culture in particular grew out of real environments where people lived through real challenges. When artists rise from that background, they carry their past with them, even as they try to build new futures. And sadly, sometimes those histories collide in ways that stop everything. The tragedy involving Von and the events involving Lul Tim became part of a much bigger conversation. How to break cycles, how to create safety, and how to prevent future situations from escalating. Yet the system of social media works in the opposite direction. Instead of calming things, online platforms reward controversy, amplify tension, and push people to react emotionally. When Lul Tim posted that TikTok, he probably expected reactions, but maybe not the level of storm it created. The video didn't just reach fans, it reached people who lived through the history, crews who were directly affected, and communities who still feel connected to Von's legacy. Suddenly, Tim wasn't just a name in a case, he became a symbol again. And being a symbol means every move gets watched, judged, and debated by millions of viewers. Through all of this, one truth remains clear. Everyone involved is living through a situation far bigger than any individual decision. These events stretch across cities, crews, and entire fan bases. And whether the intention behind the TikTok was confidence, expression, or simply music, the effect was massive. Now, people across multiple states are waiting to see what happens next, hoping the situation doesn't escalate further and hoping voices of reason rise above the noise. As things stand today, Lul Tim sits at the center of one of the most closely watched situations in modern hip-hop. His TikTok placed him right back into the spotlight, a spotlight that never truly went dark, but suddenly became blinding again. OBlock continues to express loyalty toward Von, sharing memories, music, and messages reminding the world that their respect for him never faded. On the other side, supporters of NBA Youngboy continue to defend Tim, calling his actions freedom of expression, especially since the original case was handled legally years ago. This clash of perspectives fuels every conversation happening online. But beyond the debate itself, one question keeps echoing through the culture. How much power should social media posts have over real-life tensions? Because in this case, a single video triggered reactions stretching across states and involving multiple communities. And that's the world we live in now, where one clip can shift momentum, reopen history, and stir up emotions that never truly settle. Meanwhile, labels continue to monitor the situation closely. The music industry knows that safety comes first, and when public energy around a conflict rises, so does their responsibility. Some insiders believe Lul Tim may need to step away from the spotlight for a moment, while others think silence could make things worse. No matter what, the decisions made in the upcoming weeks will shape how this story continues. On the personal side, the passing of Lul Tim's grandfather added a layer of emotional weight that many people didn't expect. Whether people see the date as coincidence or deeper meaning, it reminds everyone involved that life is unpredictable and heavy moments often arrive when least expected. And that's something both sides understand. Pain doesn't follow rules. As this story moves forward, one truth stands out. Both King Von and Lul Tim represent people who lived through environments filled with challenges, loyalty, and expectations. Their lives became intertwined through a moment no one can erase. But the future does not have to repeat the past. If cooler heads step forward, if both sides find safer paths, a new chapter could form. One focused on growth instead of constant pressure. Until then, the world watches closely, aware that energy can shift rapidly and hoping that no more lives are affected by a situation already heavy enough. This scandal shows how complex hip-hop culture can be, filled with loyalty, emotion, history, and choices that echo far beyond the people involved. And the story is far from over. Before you go, make sure you like this video and hit that subscribe button, because every tap helps this movement grow and keeps new stories coming your way.